Hello, I'm DaMuffinShow. I wanted to share an interesting game I had where I had to take some desperate measures in order to stay into it. We have a nice start with two iguanas and a seahorse. I don't know why I was blanking on that name. The first couple matches in the game don't make a huge difference. It's a good change they made a while ago with giving you a heart back. But we do end up taking this first round. Here I decide to make it's not necessarily the best way to play, but it is a fun way to go for the frog. I have the three iguanas, but I don't want to combine them until the third round. I want to get tier 3 out of it. Go up against a horse, but with the seahorse moving the horse forward, plus the fact that I'm destroying all these crickets as soon as they're summoned with an iguana, it was just a really bad matchup for the opponent. Here I buy the first strawberry, I decide to go ahead and put on the iguana, and off that level up I got a cassowary, which is pretty lucky. The scaling, while not huge, is going to help out quite a bit, especially if there are real close matches. I do, however, lose to my opponent, lose my first heart in the game. The shop's not looking great. I decide to go ahead and buy a strawberry, although that's going to give me difficulties in this game because I've invested 6 gold in strawberries, and besides the cassowary, I'm not getting much benefit. We did see the dove show up, which is a very strong pet. I decided not to go for it at this time because with the frog that I'm not willing to give up on yet, I just don't have the space to be able to kill the dove to scale my 2 strawberry pets. Lose another one, we're starting to lose quite a bit of hearts. Need to figure out some way to turn things around. And here, off of a level up, get offered the mantis. Praying mantis is one of my favorite pets. I don't know how good I would say it is, but it's a lot of fun. It is a strong pet to put in the front because it has a lot of attack, and with the right equipment, it can potentially take out your opponent's first pet, which is oftentimes their strongest. Down to 2 hearts, we only have 1 heart that we can bleed before sudden death. Our stork really didn't pay off, but I had planned around that. I had another stork in the shop, and being able to get the extra stats off of the clownfish were pretty good. I don't have enough gold to do it, but saving that dove to be able to put it onto the strawberry pets. Of course, I will have to get another strawberry, since I did get rid of that iguana, because it wasn't doing much for me, especially since most of our opponents, besides one, aren't really going summons. And this was another loss. I'm down to the last life. This is where things are getting pretty stressful for trying to stay in the game. Of course, it is just a game, just having fun. Here I can freeze the level up on the praying mantis. I'm continuing to get storks despite having sacrificed some of them. Unfortunately, our opponent is looking pretty weak. No really strong synergies or strong scaling, so we're able to hang in there. Level up, I don't really have great means. The lion's not a bad choice, but I decided to just go with buying and selling the zebra. In another world, it would have been interesting to go lion in that scenario. Here, getting the cheese for the praying mantis allows us to take out their strongest pet, which is the bison, which allows us to get another win. Still staying in there, managing to stay alive. So here I decide to level up the cassowary. I go ahead and give it cheese. Good thing about the cassowary is even though it's a strawberry pet, it doesn't need to have strawberry itself, which means you can give it arguably better equipment. Like in this case, I gave it cheese. I've still been holding on to this frog the whole game. I nearly get knocked out here, but a good pull on the stork allows us to survive. The stork's been having some really underwhelming pulls this game, but that was a pretty big one to stay in it, as well as in the future. This is where I finally take advantage of the frog, swapping over stats from the praying mantis onto the reindeer. Reindeer has a very strong ability. Its biggest downfall is it doesn't have very many stats, and that's where holding on to a frog is a good way to capitalize on that ability. This is where I first start to get an idea of a potentially strong transition. I don't really have much scaling. I have a few good things, but long term, this is not likely to carry me through. And so I decide to make the decision to sacrifice the stork to get tier 5 at level 3. This, depending on what tier 5 I get, could throw the game, but I know I'm not going to make it very far, so this is a situation where if I want to have a chance at winning, I need to do something desperate. And the fact that the stego was guaranteed to hit the reindeer meant the reindeer had lost stats, which allowed it to really capitalize off of its strong ability. Another stego in the shop is pretty exciting. Our sacrifice stork gave us vulture, which is quite lucky out of all the tier 5s in Strawberry Pack. Vulture's probably one of the best we could have gotten in that scenario. I did sell the praying mantis though, because its sacrificing ability essentially force to sacrifice a pet to it each round was just getting too problematic. So now was the time to get rid of it. Fortunately, at least one of the stegos hit the reindeer. That's the danger with having two stegos. Neither one has food, is you don't really want the stegos to hit each other. But I didn't have the gold to do that. I decide not to go for the second vulture. I was thinking maybe I can swap to some sort of summoning build, but at one life I decide I just don't really have the time to make that sort of transition. I've stopped capitalizing on the cassowary. It's just I've transitioned more into Stego, which is a really strong pet, and getting the Stegos to buff up reindeer. Really glad I put the green pepper on the vulture. One, it guaranteed the stego hit on one of the reindeer, and the fact that I had that green pepper allowed us to tie the last round, the last fight. Unfortunately, we do lose here. Opponent had very big minions, strong equipment with a stake on the snake and melons, and the level 2 snake with Tiger is just too much. So even though we didn't win, I thought that this game was a really interesting example of how to sometimes you can make desperate play and it can pay off because we stay in the game much longer than we would have otherwise.